Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, I am going to be doing my weekly update for the last week here and talking about everything that I read and did, whether audio, ebook, or however that kind of went, and then going from there. So let's jump in. So first thing is, after finishing the physical book I was reading last week, I started Night's Shadow, the second Great Codes book by Sebastian Nico'sbookReviews. I've since returned it to my library, that's why I don't have the copy anymore. But I read that book within the last week because it was coming up due and I really needed to. And I was kind of middling on it for a while. The ending was really, really good. It definitely started to really, I think, show the direction the series is starting to go. The first one, I said it was a little tonally inconsistent, where we do kind of the light fun, and then we do the much more serious and a little bit darker. And the darker part is kind of where this is still going. So we had some things that just felt a little bit unnecessary, but then toward the end, it kind of starts to put everything in perspective and show why it is the way it is, and make some of those things feel like they made more sense. So an enjoyable second entry here. I ended up, I think, giving this 4 stars, which I didn't think it was going to make it to 4, but I really liked the ending, so I thought it was pretty solid. We'll definitely be continuing the series. I'm not quite sure when, but I'll be working on, hopefully within the next couple months, getting to the next book, Saint's Blood, I believe. And then finishing up, because this one is 4 books. So, weirdly though, I don't know if it was originally supposed to be a trilogy, because my book 2 says it continues in Tyrant's Throne, which made me think I had the titles wrong, but I've checked, and I am right. So I don't know, but I'll have to see. But did enjoy that one. Do plan to continue. I'm pretty sure my library has the next 2 as well. So I'll probably just do that, since I don't physically own those ones yet. But that's where we were going from there. And then on audio, I finished Red Country, which is the last book in the standalones in the First Law world. So it's just before the Age of Madness. And this one, I did think also I enjoyed and I thought was very good. I don't know if it... I feel like it just barely edges out the heroes, because the parts of the heroes that I really liked, I would rate a little bit higher, but I didn't like the ending of the heroes, and I thought the ending was a little bit better in Red Country. I feel like the smaller scale stuff tends to work better for Abercrombie. I think he's a little bit better about doing that, which is why I'll be interested to see how the short story collection goes, because I do plan to read that as well before Age of Madness, so I'll have to see. But I waited forever to read Red Country, just because I'm not a huge fan of Abercrombie or the First Law world for the most part. But it was good to finally get through in a solid story, continuing kind of thing of advancing time and having a lot of returning characters, all in some different scenarios. This one follows, it does kind of a Western Gold Rush kind of thing to an extent, but not a crazy amount with it, but has a kind of like life on the frontier thing that's going on. We have some characters searching for stolen children. We've got Nico'sbookReviews Koska, of course, just being Koska and going on doing mercenary stuff, and then kind of get to see like this, Old West kind of town and everything, and all the stuff going on there. There were still I don't know yet if we'll do a full review for this or not, but there were definitely still parts which I found tend to creep up on Abercrombie books. There were plots where they didn't really serve a ton of purpose. There was some extra information added in, didn't really end up going anywhere, which seems pretty normal. There were some parts where it's just like, I felt like, oh, okay, we could have ended here, but no, we're just going to keep going a little bit further. And overall, although I still think this was a solid book, I also ended up on 4 stars for this one. It felt like it didn't need to be as long as it was, and it could have been done a little more succinctly. Of course, it wouldn't quite be the Abercrombie style, but still pretty solid. There were some things with, and I was thinking about too, because I know, from what I've seen, a lot of the people who love the First Law trilogy don't like this book very much, and other people, like myself, who aren't a huge fan of the First Law trilogy, seem to like it more. I think I know why. If I do a review, I'll talk about it, but there's a specific thing in here that doesn't make a lot of sense if you think about the events of Last Argument of Kings with a certain character. Doesn't make that much sense, and so there's some things that are just kind of put in there where I feel like if you treat this as its own standalone, it works a little bit better. But people who really liked some of those events may not like it as much, but overall, pretty solid story. So that's what I just finished that on audio, and I have not started a new audio quite yet. But that's where we left off. For physical, after I finished Night Shadow, I started on The Legend of Blackjack by A.R. Witham. So far, I'm having a lot of fun with this. It definitely is just giving me that really nostalgic feel, and I know he started writing this like 25 years ago, I think is what he said in one of the interviews I saw with him, and then came back to it later, and it kind of has that feel. It just definitely feels like something I would have read when I was younger, but it's written in a way where it feels authentic, and you can tell that it is in some ways intended for a younger audience, but it's also written well and written in a way that I still think an adult audience can enjoy. So I am, let's see, 145 pages. So I got a bit to go before I'm halfway, but I'm a nice chunk in here. It reads very quickly, so I imagine I'll finish this in the next couple of days, but that I've been reading and having a nice time with as well. And then on Kindle, I actually had not started anything else quite yet on Kindle, because I found myself more often I do the physical, the audio, and the ebook. But so then I finally started on the my first book for the SPSFC. Right now we have the around 30 books. I think it's 28. Where we're supposed to try out the first 10 to 20% and give kind of a yes/no if we want to move forward. And then once we have we clear through some, then we'll be reading the entire books. So I started my first one, which was The Earth Concurrence by Julia Huny. I'm probably saying that wrong, but that's how I'm going to say it. And the premise of this one is interesting. It's a crew that is traveling to Earth, where it's apparently people have not been back to Earth in 500 years, and at some point it sounds like maybe everybody had to leave for one reason or another, but they're traveling back to Earth. So it's kind of the discovering a new planet kind of sci-fi trope, but instead of that, it's actually rediscovering Earth, essentially, and traveling back there. So premise was interesting. Unfortunately, this one just felt exceedingly YA in the areas where I don't like, where just immediately pretty much all of the characters seemed really unsufferable, and kind of had this catty thing going between the female characters that just doesn't seem to fit who they are supposed to be as characters, and I was turned off of this one pretty quickly. So not a winner for me, but I'm still really excited to be trying out the SPSFC. That is really hard to say. We were trying to find a better name for that, but self-pub science fiction competition here. So I look forward to having a lot more updates here and there, with kind of just sampling so far. It's kind of weird because I'm not used to just sampling a book, so I just usually, I'm going to read the whole book, but I have a lot more to go through, so I should probably in the next few updates have several that I can briefly mention. Excited to go from there and continue talking about those, but that's kind of it for what I've read this week. I will mention, because I will be starting it here very soon, it's going to be for sure the next physical book that I read is Bottom Hill, and this is an arc I got sent by iAnonymous, and this just came out on, I think, the 24th, so it's been out for a little bit, a few days. When I got this, I didn't have time to get to it quite yet, and I was slotting it in with my review copies, but I'm excited to get to this one, and this is not a super long book either, and I got through the first one pretty quickly, so excited to give this a shot. Gurzil is one of those that kind of surprised me. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it when I started it. I ended up finding it very interesting, and so really interested to see where this second book goes. So that I know I'll be reading. Otherwise, it's kind of up in the air for what I ended up going to next, because I have a lot of stuff, and I've just been kind of feeling it out and seeing what I'm going to go for. So we'll have to find out in the next weekly update what else I end up picking up. That is it, though, for this week. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of the stuff I talked about, or any of your comments on any of the things that I read. Always interested to have that conversation. Check the link in the description, as always, for the Wizardly Duo Discord. If you want to chat books, whether these books, other books, any books, really anything at all, it's a lot of fun, and we would love to have you. I forgot to say, give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and then, of course, if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe.